Good morning, legends. How are we? We are now deep into, well, not even deep, really. First week of September. Markets are actually looking okay. I thought they would have collapsed a bit, but things seem okay. Solana is looking quite strong. The reason for that, in my opinion, will be all these new DAT announcements. There was actually one yesterday, a new one that they were talking about adding in, I think it was $1.6 billion worth into a new DAT. This one here, Galaxy Jump and Multicoin, 1.65 billion private placement for a Solana treasury strategy. All right, if you come down and actually read the article, Forward Industries has announced 1.65 billion private investment led by Galaxy, yada yada. Where is the interesting part? The interesting part is here. It's in cash and stablecoin commitments. So the word that I'm reading, like on Twitter and whatever, is that because of this, they're straight up buying it, and it's not like a over-the-counter thing or buying a locked Solana from other people. Some of the other announcements have been like that. The response has been, okay, that's great, but it's not going to push the price up or anything like that because they're just buying other people's locked bags, which is, that's a fair comment. But this one, by the looks of it, isn't. It looks like they're, it's fresh money and they're coming in to buy it. So, that was announced down here, and we had a good reaction off this trend line. So things in Solana land are looking okay. It's about 25-ish% from the previous all-time highs. We go back to the weekly. Previous all-time highs is about 260. We got the Trump craziness at 295. So yeah, it's not that far away. The next FOMC meeting is coming up. So it's in like the 17th. So it's like about a week away. Now, as far as Bitcoin's concerned, it's still hanging above this slope trend line here, which I've drawn from. This is some sort of bull flag, bull pennant type thing. This is just the top of that. Price has come down and touched it and bounced off it. The FOMC, as I said, was here. We had the full moon last night. Coincidence, maybe, that we pumped on that. So it seems to happen a lot, though. Anyway, yeah, FOMC will be the real test, but price is holding up quite well. It's recovering here. It's looking kind of like a inverse head and shoulders type thing. Personally, I don't want price to, start skyrocketing or anything until we get clarity on FOMC. Pretty sure the market's just front running the announcement that there's going to be a cut. Because the next meeting is in 8 days. The current probabilities for the next meeting is, so here's the current rate, right, between 4.25 and 4.5. 89.4% of people think that it's going to be, by the end of the meeting, between 4 and 4.25, so it's going to drop by 25%. But 10% think it's going to drop by 50 points. We haven't seen this before. Previously, it was, something like 70% thought that it was going to be dropped to here, and like 30% they were going to leave it. But things have changed considerably since then. So this is the next meeting. 89.4% of people think it'll be cut. Then in October, late October, 76.3% of people think it'll be here. So it could drop by 50 and just get here in one go, or they'll cut it once to 25 basis points, and they'll cut it again, and then they'll cut it again slow. So it'll be more like a controlled, slow, we'll cut it now, see what happens, and we'll cut it again, we'll see what happens. Personally, I would prefer this, cut it by 25, then cut it again in October, then cut it again in December. The only reason I say that is because there will be people that will think that if they cut it by 50 in one go, that will be a bad thing, because the perception will be that they've cut too late and they're trying to catch up, and they're really, really worried about the economy, especially the employment market. So it's more of a, oh shit moment, we're fucked. We really need to cut rates and cut them hard because we were too slow. So hopefully they don't do that. Hopefully Powell just does what the market expects it to do, because as I've said many times before, markets do not like surprises. So if everyone's expecting a 25 basis point cut, we should get it. The market should react positively to it, but not like super crazy. Like, oh my God, he cut, right? And then everything just starts going parabolic. No, it'll be, we expected this. This is fine. this sort of behavior here is front running that announcement. Same with this sort of stuff with Solana. It's going up. Well, this is going up because of, all these DAT announcements, but then also, the market should get a 25% cut in interest rates. As far as the wider market's concerned, so this is Bonk zoomed in on the daily. So Bonk being like a Sol beta token that's reacting well. It's up twice as much from like in the last day as Solana is, as it should be, because it's lower down the risk curve. All these Sol beta plays, and the same thing will be happening on Ethereum too. So that they're just leverage bets on the underlying. So if Solana's doing well, Solana altcoins should be doing well. If Ethereum's doing well, Ethereum altcoins should be doing well too. So here's Ethereum. Let's go back to the weekly just for a quick squeeze. Here's the double top, made new all-time highs and then came back. So we're about, well, right now we're at 4.3, but we hit like 4.8, almost 5,000. It still looks fine to me, like looking good. We already went all the way up and then came back down and tagged here. Let's just go into the daily so we can see. So here's that tag, and then it's sort of trying to curve around. It's above the EMAs. Everything's fine with ETH. I think it's just now with Solana, it's having its DAT moment. So Ethereum had its DAT moment from here all the way up to here. Now it's Solana's turn with all these new announcements. So that'll be the tailwinds. The other tailwinds that Solana has at the moment for its ecosystem would be what they're dubbing Seeker Season or Seeker September. Okay, so that's this thing here. So Seeker Season starts today. So from now until the rest of September, I guess they're featuring apps and protocols for people that bought the Seeker phone. So it's going to drive a lot of activity to these apps. So the first one is, Moonwalk Fitness, but there's going to be more general DeFi apps getting boosts and things. So that'll drive activity. So you could see, more borrow lending activity, higher yields. That'll attract more money into the ecosystem. The other thing that's coming up is Breakpoint, but generally Breakpoint used to be like earlier in the year, like October-ish or September, October-ish, but this year it's in December. And every year that Solana has the Breakpoint event, there's always really big announcements, and those announcements, drive interest and more volume, and so the end of the year for Solana should be really good, which is why I'm confident of this sort of thing happening. So Q4 is always the best time of the year, and it's not just a crypto thing, it's a stock market thing too. Right, so here's the S&P 500 index seasonality chart. So this is like an average for the past 20 years, right? So here's where we are now. So September usually crap, and then things start picking up towards the end of the year, like really, really, really well. October, November, December, really bullish. Things sort of meander around in January, and that's usually because of Christmas holidays. But then February gets a little pump, and then nothing happens. But then March, April are relatively strong too. Then you have the sell and may go away thing. You got summer holidays in the Northern Hemisphere. And then, Q3 is generally sideways and crap. These Bitcoin's quarterly returns, just look down here at the average. Q4, the average is really big. Even the median return is 50%. Q3 is the worst average, and then the median is roughly the same here, but on halving years, it's really, really big in Q1. It's really, really big in Q4. Same with Ethereum, worst quarter. Ethereum traditionally does really well in the first half of the year. Q4 is no slouch either. You look at it by actual breakdown by month. Look at that, negative. It's the only month that has two negative numbers in this average and median, right? Even August is better, but, still terrible. But by far the best months are October and November, so they're coming up in a few weeks. So strap in, get your positions ready. September isn't the month to give up, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Don't, it might look shit, and that's okay, because it always is. And it's not just a Bitcoin thing, right? It's not just a crypto thing, it's a stock market thing too. Don't think it's special to crypto. Things will get better. Right, this is what we're waiting for. So the FOMC. So we want confirmation that we're actually going to get the cut. That will bring a sigh of relief to the markets. All right, actual confirmation. It's locked in. The cut is there. Everything's good. Targets for me, assuming we keep going up, around October, November-ish, is going to be somewhere between the 1618 and the 2 extension. So that's the same thing that happened here. If you measure it from, March to August, that low, and it bounced all the way up to a 2x. So from, like 50-ish all the way up to 100, which was up until December 2024. If it does it again, so we should be hovering around the 140, 150 mark. If things get really stupid, 180, 180 for me is the top. I think I've said that before many a time, that the upper limit for this year for me is going to be here. Everybody talking about getting, to 500,000 and 1 million. I think Adam Back even recently talked about it going to get that high. Anyway, let's have a look at alts. So this is the crypto total market cap excluding the top 10. So that means, no Solana, no Ethereum, no Bitcoin, no Tether, no Ripple or anything like that in the top 10. So everything else. If we do get an alt season, which I think is quite unlikely, and by alt season I mean everything pumping like what happened in 2017. So it's like everything was going up all at the same time, everyone losing their mind. I don't think that's going to happen this year. I think there'll be a select group of tokens that, go crazy, but most things should, do okay, but there won't be the craziness. That is my prediction. Everything is just too spread out, too fragmented, too many chains. Meme coins are ridiculous. There's like 30,000 of these things created every day. Like, people that trade the trenches are not trading on centralized exchanges. They're not trading NFTs. They're not doing anything else. So everything's very siloed. Everybody is very they're sticking to their lane, right? Everything's very tribal. So there's nothing wrong with that, but it just means that that there's a fixed amount of money and a fixed amount of participants, but there seems to be infinite options. In 2017, there really wasn't that many options. It was just Ethereum, right? No Solana or anything like that. It was just one chain, small amount of people, and it was ICO season, and there were a handful of ICOs released per day, right? Not that many. Definitely not 30,000, right? And you could tell when they were released because the chain itself, Ethereum, the chain, it would just grind to a halt. It would stop. You couldn't get any transactions through unless you paid exorbitant amounts for fees. But people were doing it because they knew that everybody was trading it. Everybody was buying this, whatever the ICO was. All the money was getting funneled into, one or two or three things. And nobody was, buying it and then selling it 2 seconds later. They were holding it for a bit and things were going up. So everyone in the ecosystem is just looking at this, one chain, one group of activities. And then the next cycle we get DeFi season. So everybody's looking at that. No ICOs, but everybody's doing, DeFi launches, and that's when NFT. So maybe 2 broad categories then, but, now there's like 50 chains, something like that, right? At one point, Sushi, the DEX, Sushi was deployed on over 50 chains. So, and there's more chains than that. Like, they're not everywhere. Like, they've stopped supporting some of those chains now because there's just no volume. So it doesn't make sense to be there. It costs money to be deployed on a chain. There's all these, services that you've got to run. It's not like you just deploy a smart contract and it just works. Like, there's all these other things especially if you're running something as complex as a decentralized exchange. But just like to put it into perspective, if a DEX like Sushi has been launched on 50 chains, like I can't even name 50 chains. It's crazy. Like, and all these chains are expecting there to be pumps. There just isn't enough money or attention. People's attention is so short, right? So yeah, I don't see a massive wide alt season, but I do see it at least getting back to here, right? If others gets to, starts getting up to 400 billion, and just check your bags, right? Maybe take some profit, especially if it's around, November, December, you should be taking profits there. Just a little bit, if nothing else. If you think it's going to be a multi-cycle thing, maybe, you're a hyperliquid maxi or something like that. I don't think that's going away. So maybe you take a little bit off, especially if it runs, because this market loves to mean revert. So take some profit. But yeah, if we follow the pattern, big retraces and then towards the end of the year pumps, it usually goes the 1618 extension. It's done that many times. So if it does it again, we're looking at about 575, almost 600 billion market cap just for the alts. Now this chart here that TradingView has got on the others, this doesn't include any of these memes, right? They're their own different kettle of fish. They're not included in this. So meme coins will be its own thing. Speaking of memes, let's have a look at the Godfather. Let's look at Doge. Everything's looking fine. Like if you draw, this is the weekly, so everything's a bit slow, but you can see how that's curving up like that, right? So things are looking healthy here. This is the WIF weekly. That looks like it's trying to turn around as well. We had this inverse head and shoulders thing, which completed and it's sort of just been meandering, well, for the better part of a year. So, you could argue accumulation here if you're into that. Filecoin's an interesting one because it's been struggling for a long time. This over here is where they were talking about it on the Stephen Colbert show, if you remember that. When Filecoin made its run all the way up to like $2.70. It hasn't made it back there yet. In fact, it's been quite weak. Basically made it, between the 50 and the 618 retrace, and then it's just sort of died off. There really isn't much chatter about it too on Twitter, which is interesting, but it looks like it wants to turn around here. So, I mean, there's a nice bull div happening. So maybe it's not something I hold, but keep an eye on the narrative and what people are talking about. Same thing with Bonk, right? It's just, it looks the same. Here's Troll, which is a pump fund meme. It's probably one of the bigger pump fund memes. They had an announcement in here recently where the meme coin project has been given the IP rights to the actual meme. Here it is here. We are proud to announce that we've acquired the IP rights to the Trollface meme. I really don't know what this means in terms of price, right? Because FWOG also has, IP rights and things too. And the price of that's in the toilet. So this was the announcement of it happened here. But then it's retraced basically the whole thing. So, and it's only sort of just bouncing now. So I don't know that it actually does anything in particular. It's just, now it's just kind of just following the rest of the market, right? So, I mean, that's not a bad thing. But, I don't know, just don't go all in on Troll simply because they have IP rights. Because you have examples like this. This is FWOG. It has that too. And, it's down 95% from all-time highs. So, right. You've got the IP rights. What are you doing with it? Are you generating income at all? Revenue? What's the deal? If you are doing things, where are the announcements? Where's the plans? What are you doing? But, then it sort of just doesn't become a meme anymore, right? Then you start thinking of it as an altcoin because you start talking about roadmaps and white papers and products and revenue, and it's just not a meme anymore, right? Now people will go, okay, we have expectations now. We have things to look forward to, and they're not happening. We don't like that, so we're going to move on. You're better off, in my opinion, if you're going to be a meme, then just be a meme and offer nothing except the meme. Be the community. Talk about whatever it is that, is the catchphrase of the meme. What's the hook? Why the community believe in it, right? WIF doesn't do anything, right? It's just a dog with a hat, right? Popcat doesn't do anything either. It's just a cat that pops, right? But it was popular before it was a meme coin. So at least it doesn't have that overhang of, we've got IP rights. We're going to do this and that, right? Yeah, it's just a token that is like one of the bigger cat memes out there. But the thing with Popcat, it's been weak lately as well. So this has been like this. If you look, like the biggest cat meme by market cap now is actually MOG, which is an ETH one. But you'll notice that the chart looks, why didn't I draw? There we go. The chart looks similar though. If we go, that's MOG and that's what it looks like. So let's go to Popcat. Similar-ish, but MOG is definitely doing better. These are all the cat memes ranked by market cap. You can get to this on CoinGecko. So yeah, MOG is number one. You got Mew here. Popcat right behind it, and then Toshi, which is on base. That is the cat of Brian Armstrong. And then there's a big gap, and then we've got WikiCat, which I've never heard of, per Aura. Aura I have only because there's this big account on crypto Twitter that keeps shilling it all the time. But yeah, these are probably the four main ones. Still crazy volume, right? So, in terms of trade volume, Popcat is second to Mu here, but I'm pretty sure if we actually look at it, it does more than that. Because Robinhood, it's listed on Robinhood. Oh, if we might have to go to perpetuals, see it. No futures. It is funny that CoinGecko doesn't put the 24-hour volume of everything on the front page, because you can see here that you got Bybit, MEX, Binance futures. Just with the futures contracts, it's doing hundreds of millions. But you go back here, it's just saying 27, so it's doing way more than that. All right, let's have a look at the Bitcoin index performance in cycle lows. So the black is the current cycle. This color here is the 2017 cycle. This was the Ethereum ICO season. The blue one was DeFi summer, DeFi seasons. This is when FTX blew up. So we are tracking lower, but if you look at each subsequent cycle, everything is tracking lower. So seems in line to me, but here's the top for the last two cycles. So you're expecting, if you're a cycle believer, you're expecting this to turn up and then get to here and then start going down. Will that happen? Who knows? Some people are calling for an extended run, and that this is like the beginning of 2017, and then this will start to go like this and top out sometime in, say, Q1 of 2026. I'm not sure about that. I don't know. Things change in crypto too fast, too much. So for me, I'll still be taking some profits in October, especially if the things that I hold really, really take off because of the whole mean reversion thing, if nothing else. So yeah, I won't be selling my Bitcoin if I can avoid it, but definitely my memes and my alts and some Solana probably. It's more of a wait and see thing. So, this is still early September. We still haven't had the FOMC meeting yet. So we'll see how the market reacts to the interest rate decision. But we're okay. Everything's okay. The Altseason index, are we in Altseason? We're not in Altseason. It is getting there, though. It is getting there. So it could be soon. So hold on to that. This is the amount of stable coins in the ecosystem. It is still going up and up and up, which is a good thing. More stable coins traditionally means bull market. When stable coins start leaving the ecosystem, it means bear market. It's been going up consistently. We have seen recently a new chain, actually a couple of things on the stablecoin front. Let's have a look at that. So this was talked about a couple of days ago. So Stripe and Paradigm are going to incubate Tempo, which is a blockchain for stablecoin payments. So they've got partners with Visa, Deutsche Bank, and OpenAI. They've got a private testnet at the moment. With all of these people, all the big names. So we will see how that goes. That's going to drive a lot of stablecoins to the ecosystem. Will that help Bitcoin and ETH and Solana directly? Maybe. It might remove stablecoins from those chains, right? Depending on what the incentives happen here. So, it might not have anything at all. It might just be like, as they say, it's a private chain. We don't really want retail here, but I don't know. Maybe they do. So we'll see how that one pans out. So keep an eye on that. The other one that's interesting to look at too is the USDH stablecoin on Hyperliquid. So what's happening there is that the Hyperliquid team have reserved the ticker USDH for their ecosystem, and they've said who wants to be the stablecoin provider, and then have the USDH ticker. 6 organizations have posted proposals to take that on. Hyperliquid is the biggest perps exchange. It does $378 billion in trading volume over the past month. It has 2 spot markets, and it uses Circle's USDC and Tether. So USDH would compete with USDC and Tether, reducing its dependency on third-party stablecoins. So it'll be Hyperliquid's own stablecoin. So, but Paxos and who I got here, Frax and Agora and Native Markets, right? They've all said, hey, we'll run that for you. I think Tether will be okay, but what happens to USDC? What happens to Circle if they lose that? Like Tether's like the biggest one by far, so I mean, it still won't be good for them. Revenue's revenue. I think it'll hit Circle a bit more. Here's the Circle chart itself. That's when it launched. So this is June of this year. It's skyrocketed, but now it's almost back to where it started from. So it's way below here. So how far has it dropped? 62% from all-time highs, which was, a few days after it launched. That's the other funny thing about stablecoin companies is that, they get their revenue from trading fees and yield. In a low interest rate environment, which is what we could be potentially heading into, what happens to their revenue? Is buying Circle, the stock, is that like a wise thing at the moment? It doesn't look like it. It seems pretty obvious that the chart is down. It's getting increasing competition from stablecoin chains. And then you also have Hyperliquid wanting to do their own stablecoin, and Powell's going to cut interest rates. So it's an interesting one. What's going to happen with that? Some pretty big news happened today, and that is one of the accounts that a lot of open source software uses. One of the code. There's this thing called NPM, right? So it's the Node Package Manager, and it looks like a reputable dev has had his account compromised. So there's all these packages that have been downloaded by millions of people, billions of times. Scammers, hackers, whatever you want to call them, they've gotten access to this guy's account and then made changes to the code. So there's a malicious payload being put in, and it swaps crypto addresses around when you're doing transactions. So you click on the link and you think that you are sending your address and send it from here to here, but it's going to a different address. So that's not good. So that was about 6 hours ago. So this news is obviously spread like wildfire. So this is not good. Many crypto applications written in JavaScript. JavaScript apps use third-party packages so they don't have to rewrite complex logic. These packages are compromised, and these packages come from very well-known developers in the NPM world. 2 billion weekly downloads of these packages. Biggest developer supply chain attack in history. This is going to be one hell of a ride. Yeah, this is not the first time that open source software has been exploited like this. Not just, like in crypto stuff, but just security in general, where a package has been infiltrated. I watched a video on YouTube. It was a while ago, but there was this person that was, they were a dev and they were just helping out in the community doing open source stuff, and they'd been doing it for a long time, years, and got themselves a good reputation, and were friends with the developer guy, and were uploading changes, saying, hey, I've made improvements to this code, and they were getting accepted. And through the trust that they had established, they slipped in this exploit thing, and it was only picked up because this other researcher guy, he was doing something else. He was running tests on this software, and he noticed that there was a millisecond delay, or a few milliseconds delay, between this thing that it was doing, which it never used to do. And we're talking milliseconds here, right? So I was like, well, you wouldn't even notice it by using it. But this guy, he's like, what the hell is going on? It shouldn't be doing this. He must have had time on his hands. Investigates it. Turns out there's a bug, and just raises the alarm bells, and everybody loses their shit, because I forget what it was, but this package was deployed basically everywhere, like on all these Linux systems. And if it had gotten out there, billions of dollars of stuff would have been stolen. So it's a big deal, these sorts of open source things. So just check that the protocols that you use each day, the websites that you go to, go to their Discords or Telegrams and just ask the guys that are running it, have you done the check for this? Are you aware of this bug? Because it's pretty critical. Job revisions could change everything. Goldman expects 550 to 950,000 jobs are raised, the biggest cut in 15 years. I thought they already did the revision. I thought they already did it. But it is quite concerning that these numbers keep getting revised all the time. How can the policymakers, manage the economy if the goalposts keep changing all this time? All right, here's some good news. So the researchers Group D attackers wallets on Arkham under an entity NPM attacks. They've only managed to steal $66 so far, so that's good. So here we go. Here's a announcement by Jupiter. They're saying they've done the checks and everything's fine. So that's good. Looks like Pump Fun and XC have got a thing. So they're going to be listing tokens every Monday on MEXC. Oh, that's driving more attention to the Pump Fun ecosystem. So that's good for you guys if you hold Pump. All right, here we go. Here's a good one. So here's a wallet coming out saying that they're not at risk from the exploit. So that's good. Here's another one. Privacy caches front end and relayer says they're okay. So that's good. Yeah, okay. So here's this thing I was talking about before with the Galaxy and the new 1.65 billion raise. So it's entirely cash and stablecoins with no locked or liquid SOL will be contributed. Yeah, so that's just going to be big buying pressure. Okay, so DeFi tuner's fine. That's good. Phantom is not at risk either. Okay, very good. So it seems like we escaped. So that's okay. No major leaks or anything. What's going on here? European crypto exchange Swissborg was exploited a few hours ago for 41 million. Oh man. I wonder if it's related to the NPM thing. Somehow they gave withdrawal authority to the exploiter while unstaking. That's interesting. Market open looking green. It is, isn't it? I drew this line a while ago. It was kind of looking like a rising wedge. Now rising wedges are bearish. We've got a bear div too. So RSI is heading down, the price is going up. Usually these things, if they complete, they go like this. The thing with patterns is if they fail and they're like really obvious, like this is obvious, and like head and shoulders too. It's like if a super obvious head and shoulders doesn't break down and it pumps, it usually pumps really, really hard because there's people that are offside because it looked so obvious. But if the head and shoulders look so obvious, was why, right? So if price is doing this, right? Super obvious head and shoulders, so it should go down, right? So there'll be people, doing trades like this. So there'll be, 1,000,001 stop losses here. So if price just goes like this, it'll take them all out, and then, it just rockets. This is another one of those scenarios. So this could break upwards, and if it does, there's going to be all these stop losses up here that are going to get triggered, and then we're going to rocket. If the interest rates get lowered, which they probably should in like a week's time, and that's going to help it go up too. This is the Binance liquidation heat map from Binance on the week. So you can see here these hot spots. So this is where all the, if price gets up to here, that's where the liquidations will happen. And if price gets down to here, this is where the liquidations will happen, right? So these people are shorting and their stop losses are here. So if it gets through that, bang, it keeps going up. These are the levels that you want to break for it to continue. So there's like resistance sort of area around 114. This is the CME chart for Bitcoin. If you look here, there's a massive CME gap. So price closed here and then it reopened down here. So there's a big gap just here. And CME gaps like to be filled. So it looks like it's heading up that way to fill it. So if it breaks through here, we'll probably send all the way up to about 117K. And if we go back to a Binance chart, which is 117K, that's in the line. So that's here, right? And if you look at that zoomed out a bit, that's a key level. You want to get up here, ideally. So interest rate cuts are about here. We need to flip this EMA. We do that. We come up here, we do that. And then we hit this. And then we'll probably end up stopping around here for a bit. And then we decide, what are we doing? Are we coming back and then doing that? Or are we just, blasting through? So that's what I'm seeing for Q4. So October, November. We should see that. If we don't see any of this upward stuff in November, October, it's probably over for this cycle. Probably, right? I don't think that'll be the case though. Yeah, so what's the takeaways? I think just steady as she goes until FOMC, and then what you want to see is the market picking up. If it gets to October and we're not looking like we're going to keep going up, then I think we're done. I don't think that's the case though. I'm leaning more, we should get another rally to at least 130, 140-ish. Start taking profits then. All right, I think that'll do for this video. Hope you guys are well, and I'll talk to you in the next one.